Now, I bet a lot of you are wondering what I'm doing with the Resident Evil 4 game when I've already done the unboxing of it. Well, I thought I would do a little, just give you some tips on the Resident Evil game. A lot of this is based on from the actual demo, but obviously it's going to still apply from the game or even and also from the previous Resident Evil 4. So yeah, one of the first things I would say, the tips about the game is learning how to parry. So a lot of the enemies in the game obviously will attack you with axes and pitchforks and stuff like that. And one of the things that you can do is that if you press the L1 button, regardless of if you're playing or the left shoulder button, regardless of if you're playing an Xbox or a PlayStation pad, if you time the move just right when you press it, when you're being attacked with a weapon, Leon will use his knife to then to block the actual weapon attack. And even with the chainsaw guy, you can actually do it as well. Where I don't know if he uses his gun with the chainsaw thing, but I think you can only do it like a couple of times. So on one or two enemies, it's parrying is going to be very important in getting you out of a tough, hairy situation. Obviously, if you've got a lot of enemies, it's going to be a lot harder. Parrying is going to be a lot, powering. So it's going to be a lot harder to kind of do. But bear in mind that with Resident Evil 4 and with the new remake, the knife degrades. So every single time you use the weapon, whether it's a parry or you use it as a general attack, the weapon is going to degrade, and what will eventually happen is that the knife blade will eventually break, and then you can take it back to the merchant to actually repair the actual weapon. You can also, if you've got enough money, you can actually increase the durability of the knife, so it can actually last a lot longer, and also how powerful the actual weapon is. So then the weapon is going to last a lot longer. But it's a very important tool, being able to parry enemy attacks now. So that will get you out a lot of situations. Another good tip is that, depending on how accurate you are, is that if you shoot the enemies in the head, sometimes you're able to do melee attacks, where Leon does a kick, or later in the game he's able to do a suplex. And sometimes you're able to, when he does his spinning kick, able to break the neck of an enemy or knock them down. Now, when enemies are knocked down, sometimes you're given a button prompt where when you've used the bottom right shoulder button, so on the PlayStation 5, it's R2. You can do this move where you can stab the character and then kill the character once they're lying on the ground, and that's pretty much an instant kill. Again, this will wear down the durability of the actual knife. Also, if you get grabbed and you have to break free from an enemy, he can also use the knife as attack, as a way of killing them. Sometimes it doesn't kill them instantly, because sometimes the neck turns crooked, so you can do that. Also, what you can do now is that one of the new abilities in this game now is that you can do stealth kills now. So if you actually crouch down, you can actually, and then don't make any noise, you can creep behind enemies and actually do stealth kills, something that you couldn't do in the original Resident Evil 4 game. Now, when you first play the village part of the game, which is in the demo, some of the enemies you can do stealth kills on them, but there's a kind of a line where a certain thing triggers the enemies coming after you. So obviously there's nothing much you can kind of do. So you can do that. You've got thrust attacks with the actual knife, which you can do. Again, all these will damage the knife over time, and again, you can obviously upgrade the gun. Another important thing to do also with the game is finding treasures and putting jewels in the treasure, which earn you more money, which will allow you to sit there and buy new weapons and obviously new weapon parts and upgrades. So that's very important. You won't probably be able to upgrade every single item you've got in one single playthrough. So you've got that. Another tip I would say is that in how I did the village is what I tried to do was obviously with the new with the next gen version of this particular game, it now produces a lot more enemies attacking you all at once. And what I find, what really does help is if you can get a whole load of the enemies to congregate in one area coming after you. If you've got, say, like a grenade, you can actually throw it and then actually take a lot of them out. So that kind of helps, and that's how I took out the chainsaw guy, where I used a combination of flash grenades and also normal grenades, which kind of helped. Now, that's depending on whether or not when you break the barrels or boxes, whether or not they give you grenades, because obviously sometimes it's totally random in what you get. But I would say try to get the enemies in one area. In the original Resident Evil game, if there was enemies were coming after what you could do is that you could shoot them in the leg or the hand, or their arm, should I say. And especially if you shot them in the leg, that would slow them down, giving you more of an opportunity to do a kill. You can do that in this game, but it's a lot harder. And again, so you can shoot enemies in the leg to slow them down. But again, I think it's going to be one of the effective things where you're going to have to also upgrade your weapons in having to do all of that. What I forgot to mention with the deflection also, with the parrying system, which I forgot to mention is sometimes the enemies can throw axes at you. And what's really great, what I love about this is that if an enemy throws an axe at you and then you parry the move just right with your knife attack, you can actually deflect somebody throwing an axe at you, which is great. And I think that's kind of great. As I said before, the crouching feature helps. Also, another little tip is that when you got some of the enemies that are going to attack you with their rake or an axe, if you actually crouch, they can't actually, when they're about to whack you, or to grab you, they can't actually touch you. Obviously, people know this. Finding yellow herbs and mixing them in with the green herbs will help extend your health. But this time around, with Ashley, in the other game, you could give her health and extend her health bar. In this game, that you don't, and that's been taken out of it, so you don't kind of need to have to do that. When those enemies have those things coming out of their heads in the Resident Evil 4, what I found that killed them is using flash grenades. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the same effective trick is kind of going to work, but I would assume so. So I would say definitely do that. If you're using the shotgun, what I've tended to do is I would let the 4 or 5 enemies come really close to me, aim the shotgun slightly up, and then what I found happens is that you can actually take out several enemies at the same time. Also, there in the game, there's explosive barrels. Again, another tip to do is to actually wait for several enemies to walk past the barrel, shoot the barrel and using the pistol, and then this will sit and take out several enemies all in one go. Now those traps those metal traps, those hunting traps that they use, which Leon can the enemies put down and Leon can step into them. This time around, enemies can actually get trapped in those traps as well. In the original game, what I found really stupid is that only Leon could walk into those traps, and then also get his foot stuck, and the enemies would just walk would just walk through it, and it wouldn't have no effect. This time, it does affect the enemies, so you can actually trick them as well. Same thing with the tripwires, where you can either disable them yourself, or again you can trick enemies into walking to them, and then it's an instant kill for them. The snakes, I know that you have to be careful of them because they can take your health, and also if you stab them, they can also be a source of health. Same thing with chicken eggs as well, and fish as well. Another tip I would say, is when you get the attaché case, make sure that when different the sizes are available, make sure you get bigger ones, because it allows you to carry more items, whether it's more weapons. Obviously, save where possible. There's a pretty good checkpoint system if you die, so you don't have to kind of worry about that. Again, as I said before, if you see treasures, collect that, put the jewels in that, because then you'll earn more money, which allow you to get upgrades. There's some items where they're above a well, and it's about and sometimes it's about shooting the well, so you close the well so that when you shoot the pendant, it doesn't drop in there. Because if it does, it becomes dirty, and then you get less money for it. Some the worlds you can't actually shoot, so it's about being on the shooting it at the right angles so that the pendant falls on the floor rather than falling in the well. So when the pendant is clean, you'll get more money for it. Certain keys that you don't use more, you can actually sell and get more money for. As I said before, you probably won't be able to upgrade everything. Certain there's going to be upgrades for the sniper rifle, the shotgun, like a long way. So it's going to be whichever that tickles your fancy. Obviously, it's going to be different pistols available, which have different effects. Some are more armor piercing, others some have a better firepower, fire rate. Again, that's going to be dependent on what you want. Always make sure that when you've got your weapons and you're going to go into a fight, make sure that you've always got your weapons loaded up, so you can switch to your weapons. Also, you can also map your weapons to the D button, so you can switch the weapons very easily. That's gonna be a tip. I think there's a shooting range thing which the merchant has got. I mean, you like in the other game, you get in the Resident Evil 4 original. If you sit there and then you would collect these bottle top models, and then you would get given money as well, which helps buying upgrades. I think there's a similar thing in this where well, I'm not sure if you 100% get money, but I know that you get different perks which you can add to your attaché case, which then the perks could be you'll find more health items or more handgun ammo, so you can customize what you want and what you want. So you want more handgun ammo, then you can do that. When it comes to weapon upgrades, always dedicate more of the upgrading to the weapon that you're going to use the most. So although I use the shotgun, I use the pistol more, but obviously pistol more, so that tends to be upgraded more, which what I've done in all the Resident Evil games. So it's always been the pistol and then the shotgun, and then for me the rifle last. I've never really used the VTMP a lot. Obviously, it's a good weapon for taking out multiple enemies, but it's not very accurate. But I will try that. Then you've got the crossbow, which, by the way, if you shoot the enemy, you can actually pick up the bolts back. As I said before, that you've got a combat knife which you can use, and obviously the durability goes down there, which you can upgrade. You can also find knives as well, which obviously kitchen knives, which don't last very long, but they're quick to use in a pinch. If your combat knife is broken or you don't want to use it, the kitchen knives can also be used to make bolts for your crossbow. So that's kind of very cool there. Also, on some levels, be careful of the dogs, the mutant dogs, because they're pretty quick. So take them out as quick as possible. As I said before, now it's easier for Leon to dodge to left and right. Obviously, it's gonna be a matter of timing and how good you are at being able to kind of dodge enemies. One thing that I have noticed with this, obviously with this new incarnation of Resident Evil 4, and it's obviously this is playing from the demo, is the enemies are a lot faster and they're a lot quicker and they're very quick to grab you, even if you're not quite in their range. And obviously because there's a lot more enemies being generated and they're a lot faster. One of the tips that I would give is that when you're taking any enemies, whether it's in the village or where else you are in the game, try not to stay in the same place for very long, because obviously because what the enemies will do is that the enemies, because while you're taking out enemies in front of you, the enemies will flank you from behind or from the side. So while you're taking out enemies in front of you, what can happen is that you can be attacked or grabbed from behind, and you don't want it. So always make sure that you're on the move, so that you've got plenty of time not to be attacked from the front or from the rear, so you can you know, so you can dodge and be able to sit there and not being aware of enemy attacks. So remember, as I said before, the enemies in this are a lot quicker. They seem to be a lot stronger depending on what level you're playing at, and they seem to be a lot faster than in terms of movement compared to the original Resident Evil 4. So it's going to be a lot. So bear that in mind with when you play the game. So don't try to keep moving around and keep on your toes, so to speak. And I would say that you'll be you'll be fine. You can also buy treasure maps if you don't know where the game is. But what I found is that with the original Resident 4 is that I've played the game so many times that I know where all the treasures are in the back of my mind, or in the back of my head. I could do it myself, so I knew where it. So I didn't need to sit and buy the treasures. But obviously with this version, obviously it's gonna have treasures more around, and obviously in different places. It's gonna be a lot kind of harder. But yeah, it's basically about having very good aim, melee attacks, using your knife attacks and parrying. That's gonna help, and obviously you've got the tough bosses as well, which is obviously going to be a pain once you learn their attack moves. I know that some of them that I've seen when some people's little playthroughs, which I haven't been watching thoroughly because I want to, some of it fresh my own. They're going to be a lot harder to kind of deal with in taking out some of his bosses compared to in their original incarnations. But yeah, those are basically my tips on the Resident Evil 4 remake, and I hope it does help some people who who don't kind of understand the mechanics of the of the actual game itself, or maybe there's because sometimes, because with the parrying, it tells you, from what I've seen, it tells you how to do it later on in the game, which would have been more helpful at the beginning of the game. As for it's a lot easier to dodge certain enemies now, so you don't have to take out all of them if you don't kind of want to. And again, I'm hoping that what they do is they release maybe some DLC for the game, hopefully free, but no, Capcom, it probably won't be. And it's going to be interesting, as I said, what will be the next. Will they remake another Resident Evil game? Like, been hearing rumours of Resident Evil 5 having its own remake, and will we see Resident Evil 9 later along the line? As for Capcom, they've got a lot of things that they can ideas that they can kind of toy with in the actual game. And then one thing I would say is that, and another thing is that on the level with the bolt, which you, once you get to a certain stage, you can go around on the bolt. You can actually find treasures in the water as well, and explore caves with the bolt as well, and take shortcuts with the game as well. So now, once you get access to the bolt, look around in the actual game for loot in the actual sea, or wherever it's supposed to be, and also the caves where there's kind of going to be hidden items. You'll find all this on your map. There's something else I was going to say now. Yeah, and also in this game now, there's a lot of side quests that you can do, and you'll get treasures and probably certain perks. So similar to when I've played games like Assassin's Creed, when there's a lot of side missions, I tend to do a lot of side missions, so that I get more money and certain items, so that my characters, it's easy to upgrade my character, or to get certain extra stuff, whether it's extra certain weapons or certain things that you get in the game. Because if you do certain side quests for the actual for the merchant, and when you hand in the actual side quest that you do, he'll give you like a reward for doing it. So it could be like a laser sighting for your pistol, for argument's sake. So if you're interested in kind of, it's probably gonna take a little bit longer if you're not in a hurry to complete the game. You can do little things like the little side quests, which will further on help your actual dealing with the enemies and bosses in the actual game. So yeah, again, I hope people found this of help, and yeah, as I said before, I always say in my videos, please share this video with your friends and family, or anybody that's into Resident Evil. Give this video a thumbs up, because that will help people find my YouTube channel on YouTube, because also the YouTube algorithms favour the advertising the bigger YouTubers, and people like me don't get advertised, so it's hard for new people to find my content on YouTube channel and then maybe wanting to subscribe. Speaking of that, I know there's people that haven't maybe not subscribed to my channel. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see stuff like this and other content that's available on my YouTube channel. And that's pretty much it, really. So again, hope this really does help. And here's hoping for the next set of Resident Evil games. So yeah, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.